Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm not huge on long intros, so let's get right into this sublimation keychain. You'll need a sublimation keychain. I got mine off Amazon. I'll link them below. An infusible ink sheet, a small piece of HTV. You can use scraps. A small piece of the Faux Cricut Suede, and some Heat and Bond or some E6000. So starting in Design Space, I just measured the size of the keychain and I just doubled it so for front and back, and just added that as a box into Design Space. And then I just picked a font that fit well and that I liked and added my name, and then just sliced it and cut it out. If you don't want to waste any infusible ink, just cut it out with a piece of regular computer paper, and you can just check it out on your keychain and make sure everything is placed the way you like it. I have many times made the mistake of being too lazy and gotten bad cuts, or things didn't work out or weren't sized properly. Just a cheap, easy way to fix it, and it only takes a minute. I'm trying to get in the habit. I'm not so good at it. The other thing, I recently got the maker and I wasn't doing practice cuts. I was just going in and cutting it like I did with my old expressions, and I was having some difficulty with some of the cuts, needing a little bit more or less pressure. I've taken to making a little journal and writing it down. It hasn't been quite as accurate, I guess, because there's just so many options with the maker and so many materials that you can cut. Then I did the same thing with my faux suede. I measured the area that I wanted and made a little box and cut it out. I was surprised to find out with my maker that I didn't need a deeper cut blade. They used my fine point blade. I also know that I am supposed to put the suede on upside down. I didn't do this. I was trying to score it. Originally, I was going to sew the faux suede. It ended up being kind of an ordeal, and I decided against it and decided to glue it, and it looks great and worked really, really well. So yes, the suede is supposed to go upside down when you cut it, but it cut really, really well, really, really easily, just with the faux suede, material setting. So there's my name written. The only downside to infusible ink is this stuff rolls up constantly. It's kind of a pain. To spare you the boring details, I've already weeded my name out, and we're just going to wrap it around the keychain. It's actually really hard sometimes to get stuff in camera. That's why you see me disappear, is because I have to do stuff a foot away, and I'm still getting used to it, so I apologize for that. I'm going to wrap it as tight as I can around the sublimation keychain, and just use a little bit of heat-proof tape to keep it in place. I've been pleasantly surprised with the infusible inks. The colors are so bright. I wasn't always a huge fan when they first came out. I was struggling to cut them a little bit. I had to, dial back how detailed things were, because I was getting frustrated with the weeding. It's a thick material, but when you can get it to work, it is really, really beautiful. And I wanted to go with a color that really matched with the faux suede, so I went with these copper colors in the infusible ink. Just using that tape to keep everything in place. And when you're happy that it's not going to move around, we're going to go ahead and turn our heat press on. It's 160 Celsius I used for these, and 120 seconds. And now that it's heated up, I'm just put the keychain on a piece of paper. It helps absorb any of the extra ink that might go through and not ruin the pad I have underneath. It's just a pad from Amazon. I actually bought it a long time before the heat press even was in existence. I used to use it for my sewing projects. They're useful to have around. And I've got 2 pieces of parchment paper and we'll just put the heat press on top and then gently press down, not rubbing it, no motion, just pressing down for the full 120 seconds. All right, now that's all done, and this will only transfer to the one side. It was really hot, I dropped it. I was determining whether anything had gone through to the other side, but really nothing had. But there was, when I lifted the Cricut, you can see the infusible ink slightly shifted. So in order to prevent ghosting, when I did the other side, I cut off the side that had already been used. So I'd used an X-Acto knife, just opened it up and chopped off the used side so I could flip it over and do the back. Now we've got a full sublimation of both sides, and we're going to add that little strip of leather. I don't like the little tab there. I thought this would look a lot nicer. So I'm going to add a little piece of heat and bond to the leather. I happen to have some around the house. It's used in almost like a hem tape. You can use it to bond your fabrics together before you sew them. It just takes a second with your little mini heat press. I love this thing. I use it all the time. I think I use it more than my little one. It's, for all sorts of stuff. It's always just around. A little bit of heat and it's bonded to the leather. And I'm just going to trim a little bit to make sure that there's no glue outside of the leather area. It just gets on your iron and makes a sticky mess. Just a little bit of trimming. All right. And pull the backing off your heat and bond. Wrap it around your keychain. And so you don't wreck the leather. Grab that parchment back. You could use the same parchment you used for the infusible inks. Just lining up the leather. And give it a little press on both sides. Again, I love that little mini thing. I use it all the time. While I was doing this, I decided that the leather, because I didn't sew it, I thought it would be nice, instead of having that nice stitching, to just put a little piece of vinyl, a little bit of HTV on it to give it a little bit of a design. So I went ahead and cut these little lotus flowers, just with some scrap HTV that I had around, just to add a little something to it. It only takes a second, and it's a good way to use up little tiny scraps. Again, use a little bit of your parchment paper and just give that a quick press. In the end, I wasn't 100% happy with how the heat and bond bonded the edging to it, so I decided to add a little bit of E6000 just to the ends of the suede so that they weren't tempted to rip or to open. I tried to heat them a few times and I couldn't get just the ends. Everything else kind of bonded really well, but just these both sides on the ends, I wasn't happy with it. So I added the E6000 and I let it sit for a couple of hours, and now it's really well bonded. And that is it. It was super quick, super easy. It turned out super well. And it's just a little fun, different type of keychain. Thanks for watching my video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And see you next time.